Good morning, everybody, and welcome to What's Hot Now, where we look at the opening bell and all the action going on here at MarketStream.live and in the equity markets, the futures markets, the commodity markets. Well, looking at it this morning, seeing the open right now, we see that the Nasdaq is up roughly around, looking at the Nas futures, I'm looking at a firm opening to the upside, up 40 points. The S&Ps right now looking at the E-mini S&P futures up 5 1/4, and we're also looking at volatility down about 7 cents. We see that the bonds are a little bit mixed, where the long end of the curve is trading up about 9 ticks, the 30-year, and the 10-year is still slightly in the red, around 6 ticks. The dollar strength continues; it's up 85 cents at 100.22. And overall, we see a market that is firmly to the upside on the equity side. But the question that we have this morning is it too far, too fast? And that's going to be the question throughout the day, especially as you look at the Russell 2000. The RUT has been a huge mover. The Dow has been a big mover. That's going to come into question. But take a look at the longer-term Treasury market, because that's where really the move has been incredible. We've talked a lot about the move in the 10-year. It's gone from basically 1.72% at the time of the election to 2.23% where it's trading right now as far as yield. It's come off about 3 basis points this morning. We're going to see if bonds seem to firm up at this level. That's going to be important because there's been a lot of money that's been rotating out of bonds recently into other areas, still sitting in cash, but going into the markets. Now, the bulls, they haven't taken any flight yet. There's no underlying sense of, uncertainty, or as we will call it, fear. And as I had noted, if you take a look at the VIX contract, and I'm looking at the VIX future trading at right now, the front month VIX future is trading at 14.35. So basically it's still down about 12 cents this morning. There is no fear in this market right now. And one of the focal points is still the Trump policies. What is it going to be? Is it going to be less regulation? What are the fiscal stimulus policies? The tax cuts that are potentially down the road? But really what you can do until those policies start to firm up, there's more transparency, and we're not going to know until after the January inauguration is going to be watch the reports. This morning we had an upbeat retail sales report. We talked about this last night in Tech Talk as well as the closing bell. The retail sales number that came out for October was better than expected. It's increasing about 0.8% in October. And we also had September that was upwardly revised up to about 1%. It was previously announced at 0.6% for September. So really, what are the key takeaways from this retail sales report? Well, first of all, the increases were fairly broad. In other words, you were seeing that the sales activity, the spending by the consumer was across a broad area of discretionary items: cars, clothes, all the items, home improvement components. There was increased earnings in a lot of those names that you've seen during this earnings season, and the forecasts are in line or even slightly improved in that sector. As a matter of fact, we had Home Depot, the large home improvement big box company, come out, and they had better than expected results, and they also had improved guidance for fiscal year 2017. That was a big pickup for the retailer specifically. Stocks up this morning. We also saw that it has aided in keeping the catalyst and the pace in the retail sector as well as the consumer discretionary sector. Keep an eye on XRT for the retailers, and XLY, that's the ETF you could track on discretionary spending. The other interesting note as far as what's hot on the open, Berkshire Hathaway's 13F was released last night, and it was revealed that a core group of holdings that's new to the portfolio is an expansion of investments in American Airlines or airlines in general. If you look at jets, we talked about jets is the ETF that tracks the airline industry. We've been watching, passenger loads out of both the domestic aircrafts as well as global aircrafts, and the numbers have been coming in pretty positive. Crude oil continues to stay low, so that should keep fuel prices for the airlines in check. But we saw that there was increased new investments in American Airlines, AAL, Delta, DAL, United, UAL, and also there was a report that there was an increase in new holding in Southwest Airlines, LUV, all by Berkshire Hathaway. This is a positive for that sector. Again, looking at those transports area as a growth area, especially if there are new policies that are going to be put in place, as well as the tax implications and the continuation in the commodity markets, and specifically the crude markets. As we noted, crude this morning is surging about 1.3% at $44.66 per barrel. Obviously, the OPEC meeting is going to add a lot of volatility to the current crude markets. Right now, they have a meeting scheduled for November 30th, where it seems to be now back on that there is going to be a formal production cap agreement. Folks, this is going to go back and forth. Until it actually happens, I'm not going to believe it. Right now, the crude contract is pricing in the potential to have basically almost a $4.80 range going into the for the next 30 days. So we could see some potential volatility in crude, and especially as we get closer to that November 30th with the OPEC members. Until that agreement is set in stone, which it never seems to be, consider this just basically part of the speculative game that you're going to have in the crude market. So that's it right now for what's hot. There's a ton of activity. I'm looking at the markets right now. The S&Ps are in the green by 7. You have the Nasdaq up 52. You have gold up 70 cents. You also have the small caps up down about $3 after an impressive move. We're going to keep an eye on that. Overall, the markets are in the green. The bonds are mixed, with the long end of the curve slightly in the green, a few ticks, and the 10-year in the red by a few ticks. So we're going to keep an eye on that very closely. Till then, join us at 1:30 Eastern Time, where we're going to talk strategy now. That's where we're going to break down the midday action, as well as talk about some of the strategies that are being implemented in the markets today. All right, we'll see you at 1:30 Eastern Time. Till then, have a great trading day.